And welcome to Tardis Talk. We are jumping into episode 6 of the 2005 series. But before we do that, if you are not aware, right before this episode is being filmed live, they dropped the season 2 shooty Doctor Who teaser, and we were able to. I wish we could have recorded it. Let's just go ahead and go around. Niko, you're the one that's watched it the freshest. Let's go ahead and start with you. Thoughts about that trailer? Let's go.
It looks so clean. I loved a lot of the action scenes going on. It looks like there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in this season.
Mm-hmm.
I love the outfits I saw Shooty in. Someone it's like a little reddish brownish shirt with the pants. I'm gonna get that outfit as soon as I can. But it looks a little desperate, a little dangerous, and I like my doctors desperate and dangerous.
David, what are you thinking?
I focus mostly on like the creatures, like the giant spider looking thing, the big hand behind the guy that Ruby was talking to, Ruby being a little spooky, and the new companion being connected to the character in Boom, and then he proceeds to go boom right at her. It's gonna be a wild ride. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, and let's not even forget to mention the giant dinosaur looking bone creature. So my thought was like I was freaking out because I literally watched before I got on with David. Oh, hold on. Will, I didn't see you jump on there real quick. Will, did you see the trailer? Did you see the trailer?
Look, I gotta be honest. No.
Okay, do this. We're gonna talk for a minute. I'm gonna take you off screen.
Yeah,
go watch it real quick.
You bugger off.
Yeah. Just wave at me when you're done. Okay, so my initial thought about these shows are like people were complaining about this last, and we had that rumor about shooting being done, and I really think people, especially new fans, do not get it. Like I have gone through the series very quickly, and so one of the things that I didn't realize was like for me, my biggest complaint about Capaldi was that first season was rough because he was finding his voice, they were finding the tone, and that was part of the theme of the story because every time the Doctor goes through regeneration, they lose a bit of themselves and they have to regain that. And so the story was the Doctor finding himself. And so my biggest complaints about that played into the storyline and was basically the complaints through the whole thing. In fact, if you think about his companion at that time, she was having some of the same emotions that I was having about him changing from the 11th to the 12th. And so I completely get it. And new fans just do not understand that first season is a kind of getting to know you set. And then the second season is where they go hard because we got some of the best Doctor Who episodes from Capaldi in that next season with him. And it's because of that. And so people just kind of need to be quiet and just wait. Cause I liked the first season with our new Doctor with the 15th. The only thing that I had a complaint about was it was trying to continue on too many stories from the season special. Like I felt like it was just kind of like we had the whole Legend of Ruby Ruby Sunday. And so there was this whole thing that they were trying to fill in, and it didn't end, I think, the best. But then you saw some of the best things from like even Joy to the World, where the Doctor's having to deal with certain circumstances. So I just say all the haters, shut up. We're getting peak Doctor Who, and you don't even realize, because I bet you that first season with the 15th is going to pay off even more after we go through season 2, because it looks like it already is going to do that. Okay, Will is waving his hands. Go, Will.
Look, obviously I can't make a Doctor Who. So I always go into these just wide-eyed and happy. And in this case, whole lot of the same thing. I see a lot of great visual candy to get me excited about what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of what to tag in on what you're saying, I think this is obviously going to be a season where Ncuti is very much more comfortable with the role, which he already dominated in his first season.
Oh yeah.
But traditionally speaking, it seems that whenever we have a new Doctor, it really does take them to their second season to have really found themselves. And I see a lot of this. I absolutely love if what we are getting is the reluctant companion. You know what I mean? Because there's always, almost every one of the companions, it's always like bewilderment. Oh, wow. Everyone realizes they're suddenly with a space wizard and anything is possible. So yeah, let me see what can come of this. But I love the thought of a more practical companion who's like, I understand why you've had to bring me on this more than likely to save my life, but this ain't my jam, man. Get me home.
Yeah.
So
less
I
Rose
really
Tyler, more Mickey Smith.
There you go.
Sense.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I apologize for my tardiness or my tardiness. But
Tardisi.
I needed
Tardis Talks.
I needed two things in the morning. One of them is a big old cup of Joe, and because it's morning for me still, and this is where I am, peak mentality. I haven't even like taken Magic Mind yet, so I'm gonna be low energy for like 5 minutes here, and then you're gonna get the full will. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Got it. So just we talked about this, and if you guys don't understand, like this show is predicated on the fact that we had a Discord chat that just kind of kept going, supporting me, but then also kind of like going back and forth about different moments, and so we're like, why not do this online for everyone to see? So with that, we have been going episode by episode through Doctor Who, starting in series the 2005 series. I guess it's called series 5 at that point or whatever, but I don't know. So when this new season comes out of Doctor Who, understand we can do everything out of order if we wanted to, and we are going to, because we are going to jump to the new Who, and we're going to go through it, and then once it's done, we'll come back and do the old stuff, and that's just how it's going to be. And so yes, it may be a little bit wibbly wobbly episode timey wimey, but that doesn't matter. That's the way this works.
Yeah, man, it's got to be a new Who review coming right at you, is what I'm saying.
Fun fact to insert here. So for this season that we're watching currently, it's like set name was Torchwood because it's an anagram for Doctor Who.
Ah, there you go. And honestly, yeah. And if you guys don't know, I don't know if you all have checked TikTok this morning since I sent it to you. I sent a video of Catherine Tate, who is Donna, and with David Tennant in an episode, or it's like a bit of the Catherine Tate show, which I found out took place in 2006. So this was, I think, the episode. This was the bit.
Was this a classroom skit?
This was they. I think this interaction between the two of them was why they brought her onto the show.
Okay.
Because the Catherine Tate show took place, I think, from like 2004 to 2009. And I believe her stint with Doctor Who started in like maybe 2006 into 2007. So she hadn't even been, or no, 2007 to 2008, I think it was. So she hadn't even been on the show yet as Donna Noble. And I don't know if y'all watched it yet. It is probably by far my favorite thing that I've seen on the internet. And if you don't know, look up Catherine Tate, David Tennant 2006. You'll probably find it. But it was everything.
You look like a 900-year-old time.
Is my face bothered though? Is my face bothered? And then she breaks out the perfect Shakespeare, and then he turns her into a Rose Tyler action figure. Like it was perfect. So we're here. This is It's FanBox. If you don't know It's FanBox, go to fanbox.com. You'll find out more articles, and all of these episodes get posted as articles that you can pull up and watch through the website. You can also check us out on It's FanBox at YouTube. All of those things. But most importantly, you're here with Tardis Talk, and if you like this show and you'd like to listen to it on your way to work, you can find us anywhere podcasts are available. But with that said, we are on episode number 6. Which is the Dalek episode. And we had just finished with the Slovene from Rax Coracle. I just lost the phrase.
Raxicorca palpatoris.
Thank you, Rex. I knew I was going in that direction, and then all of a sudden I completely doubted myself. We've just finished with the Slovene, and so we are now finding ourselves in a bunker 500 feet under the Earth's surface in Utah in 2012, and something is calling the doctor to this bunker that is housed by the guy who owns the internet. So let's go ahead before we get started, because we just like jumped into the thing. Guys, let's go ahead and tell us everywhere where we can be found. David, go ahead and start us off. We'll go Niko and then Will.
I am Xanatos1138 on all social medias, mostly TikTok, trying to get back into Twitch. But yeah, that's it. Xanatos1138 everywhere.
Okay.
Niko Skywalker on TikTok, Skywalking Niko on Instagram. I like to talk about the TARDIS.
That Will Wilkins everywhere I could possibly be found. So I love the way it's like Xanatos was dialed in. He's like, okay, here, and then Niko's like, this here, that there. This is how I am, and then I bookend with, yep, just the one thing. I keyed in on that one about a year and a half ago. I'm just like, you know what? You got to make this idiot proof. Anywhere, not that I'm, look, listener, not that I'm saying you're an idiot. I'm just saying that to make it easier, because it's true now. If you automatically need information, you go to a specific site, you put the information in, you get a result, right? In many ways with social media now, everyone's programmed to just think of that person's username as what they probably are everywhere else. So it has nothing to do with anything. I'm sorry.
No, but also just also as a congratulations, Will.
Yeah.
Not because I'm like self-gratifying because I'm technically part of the show now, but Will just celebrated his 400th episode on Netheads on Air on the Smodcast Network.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, man, just goes to show if you're completely unwilling to give up on something, it won't give up on you. Yeah. So much so, I mean, look, and honestly speaking, that milestone probably would not even have been achieved yet if it weren't for Tony's willingness to sit in as at points he was called interim co-host. Now he's just one of the co-hosts of Netheads. Just depends on who's sitting in the chair. Wouldn't be at that milestone if it weren't for you, because it would just continue to be long weeks in between episodes, falling off of everybody's subscriptions in Apple Podcasts, and basically be just two guys talking in a internet tree where it falls and nobody hears it.
Well, and I think that's the funny thing, because like you say, like my willingness, people haven't figured this out yet. If someone were to invite me on the podcast, there's very, very few reasons why I would ever say no. Like they're just like, hey, you willing to do this? Sure. I don't have a life.
Great.
So like I have no problem talking. We know that here. So yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're like looking at this. Okay, well maybe we should do a little homework here. They seem to like schmotzies. I think I'm gonna move on. Maybe that one I'm not gonna do.
It's like, wait. You guys like Tate? This Tate guy? No, thanks. I'm good.
I mean, one of the
Mandalorian historian? Nah, I'm good. You go do your thing.
Not to be over self-serving and taking up the entire show, but interestingly enough, as well, in a crossover I never expected, there is a kind of more political podcast called Love It or Leave It, hosted by John Lovett, who was a former member of the Obama administration. I only say that because, there's entertainment and there is political involved, but it was just weird for me to see Kevin Smith on Love It or Leave It. I'm like, this is the least political guy on the internet, except, for his opinions on sci-fi and pop culture entertainment and a political environment. Just a weird mix.
Yeah, I get it. So let's go ahead and just kind of move on to talking about the episode.
Right now, Tony's like, can I have 2 minutes of my show back, please? Your Honor, I'd like to reclaim my time.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Dalek episode. This is episode number 6. Let's go ahead and go around, since we've already done the introductions and Will is, taking 15 minutes of our time. And let's go ahead and talk about our thoughts about the episode. Since we've already heard Will talk, I was going to have Will do it first, but let's go ahead and have David go again. David.
So this episode I definitely liked better the second or third time I've seen it, because like now, the first time watching it, I was in the position of the humans, knowing nothing about a Dalek, not knowing like any of the dangers that a Dalek could pose. And in this instance, I'm like, I was in the perspective of the Dalek of the doctor, going like, no, what are you doing? Don't let it loose. What are you guys? What are you thinking? Why are you doing that? And just the comedic stuff of the humans going like, I think I know how to shoot a tin can, doctor, and then they just get obliterated because it's a Dalek. And I think I remember a conversation I had with Niko when I first watched it. I was like, why don't they just run it over? Why don't they just run it over the car? And now I get it. Now I understand.
Oh man, I love this episode so much because in my first watch through, this is like the turning point where it went from like silly little adventures that can be dangerous to like, oh, that is like he said, it's the ultimate in racial cleansing. This thing just hates everything that is not itself. I'm like, oh, okay, there's like some really, really like crazy things. And I'm like, but it can't be that bad. And doctor's like, nearest town, Salt Lake City, population 1 million, dead. I'm like, whoa, really? This is one thing? And it's like how matter of fact the doctor speaks in this episode. Definitely like once you get to know him more, it's like, oh wow, he's just like, there's no quips, there's no whimsy. It's just, you know what you should do? Kill yourself. I'm like, whoa, this is all right. It's like a real turning point. I was like, okay, I think I like this silly little guy who flies around the box.
Will,
Since we're all appeared to, well, not all of us, but since we do appear to be doing kind of like a first viewing, current viewing situation, I too was in the exact same boat the first time I watched this. I'm like, what? Hold up. Was that a toilet plunger? Why is he so scared? Why is he? And it was interesting too, just because, you know, from our perspective, it's like, why is he so terrified of this? Which should have been more an item helping set us up for later, where it says, oh yeah, this is why he was so scared. But it was interesting on my first viewing. The tonal shift in the doctor. Actually, let me skip ahead to the reviewing. I'm extremely uncomfortable with the playing of this musical instrument. It made me feel awkward. Made me feel
it's like,
uncomfortable.
do you need to go to a room by yourself and kind of
no, but it was like,
play your instrument.
Show me on the picture where the doctor touched you. Please settle down. Okay.
The slightest fingerprint.
Oh man, just too much. But then getting back to the original viewing, it was weird at the time based on everything we had mostly seen of Eccleston's doctor up to this point, where he is flat out terrified of this thing until he realizes it no longer poses a threat. And then he just went to the complete opposite part of the bell curve, you know, just like straight up vicious, because he knows he's facing the most vicious beast he knows that now has no fangs and no claws. And that was weird at the time though, because it really seemed like a harsh shift, like you mentioned, Niko. But you know, it was still an interesting show to see through current day perspectives as well. It's like, of course, some asshole with a lot of money is messing everything up. What do you know?
Good point. You know, it's funny. The first watch was actually probably I was more favorable because honestly, the story goes, I saw Doctor Who, the original series. I don't remember what season it was, but it was on like WETA or the PBS channel, you know, because sometimes, you know, the old Doctor Who stuff would play on there, you know, in the midst of like, you know, Reading Rainbow and whatever else. And so it terrified me. Summertime? Like there were certain hours I would not watch PBS because they'd be playing Doctor Who and it would freak the crap out of me. And one of the things was the whole side-scrolling thing where you had Daleks chasing them down. And there's a lot of that in this episode. And so it was nice to see it in a different format. Something a little bit newer and fresh where I was a little bit more acclimated to the Doctor, especially because you guys have all encouraged me. And honestly, the Daleks are probably one of my favorite villains in Doctor Who now. When you really think about it, But there were a couple things in this episode that just didn't strike well, and it was the way the Doctor was. Because in this episode, when he first realizes that the Dalek, he's terrified. You don't see that from the Doctor at any other time in any of the Doctor Who shows. He will traipse himself around the Daleks and mock them and joke with them. And they could easily but of course he's got a force field from the TARDIS and whatnot. But he seems more confident and self-assured around the Daleks, with the exception of this episode. I think that was one of the only, I would say, character plot holes, but I could be wrong. But also, it was the first time that I heard the concept, and you hear it throughout the rest of the series, where he'd make a good Dalek. And you have that with Tennant's run. You can see how not only the Daleks, but even the Ministry and everything else, the church or whatever, with the 11th Doctor. And then when we get to Capaldi, it's one of the main themes between him and Dalek Khan and Davros and all of these other, iterations of the Daleks, to where he has to realize he's the big bad guy for the rest of the universe in a lot of ways. Although he thinks of himself as the protector, the Doctor is also a warrior, and it is changing the terms. So seeing, and you can even see through Rose's eyes, how she was surprised by how immediately he went to, we got to kill it. He's trying to protect the Slovene. He would give options and warnings to other civil, beings, but when it came to the Dalek, it was just it needs to be killed. It needs to be wiped out. And he is very different now in the future iterations. But seeing how angry and how much of a Dalek he was, and having to understand that duality. But yeah, that was my thoughts coming out of it. And yeah, of course the billionaire, D-bag and, all these other things going on. And I just love the fact how he's the one guy disagrees with him. He's wipe their mind, put them on a street somewhere so they can be found. And then he's who do you think the next president, Republican or Democrat? And they're Democrat. It's why is that? He's because they're funny. And I'm they're so out of touch from reality. It's so spot on. So yeah. Also interesting, and just a thought with this, we get to, let me see a picture here. So when the Doctor sees the Dalek, obviously he's terrified. He knows what it is. He starts mocking it once he realizes it can't harm him at all. But when it came to the Rose with Rose and the Dalek, her immediate thought was, I have this friend, the Doctor, he can help you. And knowing how he really was about it, and even with the Slovene, where he's willing to let the whole world die just to save Rose. But when it comes to the Dalek, he's willing to let her fall behind the blast doors.
The blast doors are shutting. I can't help you because I'm the one shutting them. You gotta hurry up.
I'm sorry, Rose. It's maybe this answers the question. Maybe the Doctor's trying to be better. Of course, we don't know much about the Time War at this point. We don't know much about what he went through. It's almost like he's trying to make amends for everything that he went through and what he did. But the Dalek immediately brings him back to the Warrior Doctor. And I thought that was really interesting for a man who's trying to change his past. He right back into it.
It's not right back. It's oh yeah, back in my old habits. I gotta kill it. I'm whoa, Doctor, calm down.
And he's blaming the billionaire for killing everyone in there for his selfishness. And then he opens up the blast door, basically condemning Utah to the Dalek.
He's I blocked Rose off one time. I'm not doing it again. I'm opening this door.
Everybody
I
gets
can't
one.
believe you killed 120 people. I'm going to go kill 1 million. Oh
Oh my
man.
gosh, the banter from the Dalek in this, because this is like the first time I really like internalized what the Dalek said this time. He's like, I've absorbed the DNA of a time traveler. I'm regenerating. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Now, I think my favorite line is when they're on the stairs and they're mocking the Dalek, and it just slowly looks up at them and goes,
Mhm.
elevate, and then just floats up.
Oh my God, that's like everybody's Dalek can fly now. It's like, they've been flying for a while, but it was a little late in Old Who when Daleks started flying. It's like remembrance of the Daleks with Seven, so it's like, yeah, for a long time Daleks were not flying.
Yeah, and that's the
Still
great part. Like they
terrifying.
don't know anything about this thing. Like I can't remember what they called it, but it was like the name was even like wonky, and the guy had all of this stuff and had no idea what it was. And it was like that musical instrument that Will was saying was uncomfortable to watch him caress. He's like sit there. He's like, I wouldn't hold it like that. He's like, is it dangerous? He's like, no, it just you look stupid.
I think they called it a Metaltron or something. It's like, what is it? A
Yes.
Something
transformer?
like that.
And he's like
Yes.
what? He's like, you like the name?
Oh
No.
gosh. Some of my favorite like expression acting from like Eccleston was when he looks at the Cyberman head, and I'm just like, dang, I'm feeling everything he should be feeling from Old Who. It's like Cyberman did him dirty in Old Who. He's just like an old friend. It's like an old friend. They killed somebody you considered like a son. The old, yeah, hey, this you can see. I saw like a metaphorical tear slide down Eccleston's face.
You know, it's funny though, because like him referring to the Cybermen as friends, like I can think through the story. There's never once until we get to Capaldi where any iteration of a Cyberman we have an emotional tie to. It's when we know someone who is he's very fond of, that ends up being assimilated. But it's with the Daleks, I felt that throughout the storyline there are more meaningful engagements with Daleks
Mhm.
than there are with a lot of the other villains. I mean,
Yeah.
even in this episode, the Dalek was going through such an existential crisis. The Doctor could have made a difference. Like, it wanted commands. He could have commanded it to be better than itself. He could have commanded it to do this or do that. And what would happen with we see later with Capaldi with that one Dalek, where they try to heal it, he could have easily done with this one, and it was a better circumstance because it was bleeding in the emotions that Rose had, and like even the fact that it opened itself up so it could feel sunlight for the first time. Like I'm sitting there going at the end of that, like, oh man, why am I feeling so much for this guy?
Right?
In-
Like, oh, don't go.
The Doctor just steps around a corner with a giant gun.
It's a BFG from Doom.
Right?
No, I feel like in this case he was feeling like the Dalek, because of the contamination or the influence from Rose, is like its very nature. It's just going against every single fiber of its being. So that's kind of why he's like, all right, I guess it should just obliterate itself, because it's like living now for the Dalek would be more agonizing than anything else, because it's going against everything it believes, even though the only thing it believes is hatred.
Yeah.
Like in the elevator, looks over Rose. Why are you alive? Why haven't I killed you? Like, yo, this guy's going through it.
It's like, what are these feelings? Like it was like, yeah, it was very interesting to kind of see, like it was so confused in and of itself. Like, and it was drawn, like she's like, it looked at me, it was looking right at me. How do you know that little optical thing was staring right at you? Like,
Oh, so speaking of comedic and the optical thing, when the president or whoever that guy is was talking right at it, and you saw like the giant mouth and the tiny head on the top because of the magnifying, I was like, that was done intentionally to be funny. I know that was, but he's like yelling at it, and his giant mouth is just talking at it. It's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, like the big joke, the plunger on the thing, but it's like the Daleks are always one of those things that it just they're little mini tanks, and they can take so much. It's like well, don't touch it. It's like, why? The last guy who touched it like burst into flames. Like it's you don't touch it. Of course, Rose touches it and he gets and I think that was the thing. Like I imagine they could have detected that she was a time traveler, that she was attached to the Doctor. I think that the Dalek was also trying to lure the Doctor into touching it, because the Doctor got real close. Because I think it knew the only way that it could survive is by, time travel energy, which so I went into this deep dive after watching the episode. Oh, there you go.
Daleks.
I went into this deep dive about regeneration, because I was like, I wonder, because my first thought was, what if this was Dalek Khan? And I'm like, no, he blew himself up. He didn't really, time travel. Because I thought this would have been a really cool way to give us Dalek Khan to start off with, because we know what he does down the road. But then I'm like, okay, so basically, from what I understood, regeneration, every Time Lord gets like up to 13 regenerations, unless the Time Lords give them another set, so they get 13 more. We know the reason why Doctor Who only had 12 regenerations is because with the 10th Doctor, when he regenerated, he redirected it to the hand. That's how we got the double Doctor and then the Dr. Donna. But then there was like some explanation that the regeneration is actually it's like a again, I'm talking like this actual science. It's a consequence, or it's an after effect of the time vortex. And so because because the Time Lords are exposed to the time vortex, they have this ability for regeneration. And so not just the time traveling, because we know you don't have to be a Time Lord you don't have to be of the species of Time Lord to be a Time Lord, as we'll find out with River Song, but you have to be exposed to the effects of the time vortex. And so it had to have known that Rose was a time traveler, that it had that residual energy, and she had just enough for the Dalek to regenerate. And I'm sitting there going, this is a lot deeper than I even expected to want to go. I'm like, I know they make up science as they want to with this show, but I was impressed. Like I'm sitting there going, oh, this makes sense. And then there's this, and this. And I'm like, okay, I get what you guys are doing. You guys trying to make this seem, you want to go down that rabbit hole. And I did. So I guess it's on me that I'm hooked on this stuff now.
Yes, I love that, like that hook in Doctor Who where it's like time travelers, as soon as they're in this, fundamentally you're different. Like the universe could reset. You travel through time, you remember. It's like, and they give off that Atron energy. So I think the Dalek definitely picked up what was going on with Rose. Rose has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like what?
And,
I give off energy.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like he wanted the energy to regenerate, which is not the only time we'll see the Daleks using Time Lord science. But he didn't expect to get he didn't think he'd catch feelings for Rose, which neither did the Doctor. I'm just saying. So
hey, Rose Tyler got something going on.
Let's face it, I think everybody has a little bit of a crush on Billy Piper at this point.
You fancy Billy Piper?
Which, see, when they did that in that comedy bit, I lost it. And then he turns her into a Rose Tyler action figure.
I'm still not bothered.
Oh man.
Yes. Okay.
So this episode also did introduce us to one of my most hated companions. I don't even care to remember his name. He's the Brit, as the billionaire called him. He's like, oh look, it's another Brit. It's like, yeah, like this guy, you think he has noble means, but he's a jerk, and you can get why he was recruited by this billionaire. But
really glad it was just the one. The next episode is all we see of him. That's the saving grace of that.
Yeah. But they teased it because like at some point, like he's flirting with Rose, and he's like, there's obviously some chemistry there between the two of them, even though they don't really know each other. And we look over the fact, yeah, he left Rose in the dust when it was running for that blast door. Like he could have easily grabbed her hand and pulled her.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought of too. And I think again, my first time watching, when she started to like flirt with him, I was like, dude, Mickey. You still have Mickey somewhere, right? Like, I'm so confused by this whole dynamic.
Poor Mickey. Mickey got such a raw deal in this whole thing.
So bad.
I mean, even at the end when we don't see Mickey anymore, that whole last scene was messed up in and of itself. I'm just saying.
With the last scene from the last episode, or our last scene seeing Mickey?
No, when last time we see Mickey and Rose, like until Rose is like the what is it, the kind of like the depiction of the destructive machine or whatever they call it, of the device. Like the way we end up with the real Rose Tyler story ending up, I'm like, poor Mickey, he never had a chance
At all.
like
Never stood
like-
a chance.
he's even like lost to a defective clone of the Doctor.
One of the last times that we see Mickey, it wasn't the last time, it was like the second or third to last time, but when he decides to like stay in the other universe and goes like, yeah, I'm not dumb, I can see what's happening, why the hell would I stay here? It's like, yes, okay, finally I respect you.
Yes. He's like, and my grandma's here. Not leaving.
He's like, at least I got one woman that loves me.
Right.
Yeah, but then we'll see him later on. It's so weird, that relationship. And we're gonna talk about stuff that doesn't do with this episode, but like getting back onto Mickey, the episode we see the Slovene again. And like he's like, hey, we can go to the bar and get something to drink and have a meal and get a hotel room. And she's like, yeah. And then she just leaves him in the dust. And it's like, I think at that point it was over for him. Like he cared about her, but he wasn't emotionally attached anymore. Like I think it was more of like a familial thing than it was ever romantic at that point, because he knew where everything lied. And even the fact that when he finally does end up going with them, and the look on her face when he's like, I'll come, and she's like, I was like, wow. If there's anybody I'd like to go back to and see like involved in Doctor Who of the future, it would be seeing Mickey Smith again. Like I think I'd love to see where he's at now, because he ended on a good
Martha.
note.
Mickey and Martha stories. Please.
Oh, I forgot about that. That to me that was a very good ending for both of them. I feel like. I mean, it was one that just kind of like one of those endings that tied up loose ends in a way, but it was a good way to do it, at least with all the options that were there.
I enjoyed it. They just slapped the black characters together. Like Mickey, Martha. Yeah, he put a ring on that. Hey, I would too. Hey, Martha Jones is a good catch.
Let's face it, and those two names are like the most generic names you could think of, like Jones and Smith.
Right.
They're gonna have like really basic kids, and they'll have a median family income. Like it's just how it is.
It's like they bonded over being spurned by the Doctor in some way.
Yeah, probably. Hey, man,
Martha
Mickey
worse
could have
though.
crazy game, because I used to live in another dimension for a while. I came back to help out the Doctor.
She's like, oh, you think you got it bad? How about pre-World War, where I was considered a maid even though I had a doctorate, and I was constantly being spoken to misogynistically and racially. Like, let's just go there.
You lived in an alternate dimension. I lived in an alternate timeline.
Like, Mickey, you were called stupid. I was oppressed. Let's go. It's, oh man. And then like the timeline. So he's in an alternate timeline, and then like there was like a whole year where she was just basically roaming the world, trying to get people to think about and care about the Doctor when he had no interest in her whatsoever. To the point of where when he sees Donna Noble and brings her on, the first thing he needs to do is just lay the groundwork of, I'm not interested in a relationship. It went wrong the last time. So I don't want to give any of the bad, any of those thoughts.
You're too skinny for me.
I thought of this when we were talking about 15 and the ending of the first season, it being kind of just like, the whole thing with Rose mystery kind of fizzling out at the end. But then I want to direct you to, have you heard about our Lord and Savior, the Doctor? And that ending, I mean, it's bound to happen in Doctor Who. I wasn't fazed by it.
Yeah, the magical T-pose to save the world.
Oh man, yeah, and oh man, Okay, so we're out of order with everything. Like it doesn't even matter at this point. Let's go because we saw that trailer and that trailer was amazing. Couple things from that. Well, one thing specifically from that first season. Do you think we're gonna get our bounty hunter friend back? Like I really
hope so.
I hope he goes looking for him. Like I really
We need
do.
Rogue back.
I don't want. I was afraid of this when this happened. Like I don't want this to go on for seasons, and then Rogue turns into a bad guy because he goes insane in the other dimension, or something happens where he doesn't like the Doctor anymore because he took too long to find him. Because the Doctor has a tendency to be like, "I'll find you," and then completely forget.
All right, let me push my heartbreak narrative where I love to see the Doctor sad. Now I need that to happen so I can see Shooty cry on the screen.
But here's the thing. The only other option would be is, of course, we know he's in a place that he really can't go to retrieve him. This is a place that he's supposed to be lost to space and time. Obtrusive thoughts winning here. We know he had to do. He was part of Hamilton. We know that he was, part of Frozen or anything. I want no Frozen references, but I would love it when the Doctor appears and saves him from the dimension. He's like, I wasn't aware that was something a person could do.
Need a little reference, a little slow.
Some type of Hamilton reference somewhere. Now, mind you, it does depict England in a very improper light through Hamilton, so there is a possibility they may not go that route. Disney might push it. BBC might be like, too soon. So regardless, that's what my heart's desire is. Whether it happens, I'm okay.
That actor, it's funny. Like I know he was in Hamilton, I know he was in Frozen, but I only truly know him from The Matrix 4 because that's the only one of those things I've seen.
Oh, I don't. You just made me remember that. Don't. No, listen. I don't know what it is. I'm trying not to bring up certain things because we don't want to entertain those conversations because this is an entertainment conversation. But I will say, since the last couple months, I've been listening to a lot of Hamilton. A lot of Hamilton.
I'm always listening to a lot of it.
And I kid you not, it seems like I've been playing You'll Be Back way too much because I feel like we're getting there. But yeah, so man.
Yeah. Back to Dalek talking.
Yeah.
I
So-
really like the juxtaposition of 9 to Old Who, because in Old Who with that, it's more of that jokey, campy, yada yada yada. Even in fact, the Fourth Doctor has the option to, if he connects 2 wires, erase Daleks from history, and he's like, I don't have that right. I don't have the right to do that. If you put those wires in 9's hands, he's connecting them before he's even an explanation. It's just it's crazy. He's tweaking about these Daleks.
So 8 was the War Doctor, 9 is the PTSD Doctor, for sure.
8. I'm gonna say it. 8. The 8th Doctor is he refused to acknowledge that the Time War was a real thing happening. It's the Time War's not really happening if I'm over here having fun. Oh no, my companion died. Dang, man. So
you're right. I did misspeak because I forgot the War Doctor doesn't even take a number. That's a whole separate thing.
When 8 couldn't run away anymore. Yeah, oh gosh, that Night of the Doctor when the companion's there and she's in the back of the space. My spaceship's back here. It's bigger on the inside. It's bigger on the inside, like a Time Lord. And she's yeah. It's yeah, like the Daleks. It's no, I'm not like the Daleks. It's but what's the difference? It's are you gonna get in? It's I would rather die than get in that ship. And she just crashes with the ship. I'm hey, respect. She stood on her business. She said, I am not getting in there with you space fascists.
Okay, so with the earlier Who, did they call themselves by their numbers at any time?
No.
I know we have. So it was funny because I've been going through and I've gotten back to the 11th Doctor. It was the first time that I ever heard a Doctor refer to him by himself by his number. And he called himself the 11th, but he's technically because because he knows about the whole regenerating into the hand thing. But it's it was the first time I'd ever heard a doctor refer to himself by a number. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, I wonder if anybody else has ever done that, like
I
refer
like
to himself
that.
as
Like,
the iteration.
I consider that like one of Eleven's quirks. Like even down to his like, there's so much. He just loves that. He's like, how much danger are we in? On a scale of 1 to 10, 11. As he walks in, I'm like, all right, he just likes this. So like, we're in the 11th hour. It's like, he just loves him so. Like the other
Man.
doctors, they're just like, it's like I'm the doctor. Like it's like I'm me. But like, with old who, like it's like a running theme. Like the doctor just hates the next one of himself. He's like, like 2 and 3 like would get into a fist fight with each other, which is so funny to me because they're like the exact opposite, but that's why they hate each other. But they're the same person.
11 is determined to like not remember any tragedy from before, like when him and 10 have to interact and then the war doctor asks like the number and 10 knows the exact number and 11's like, I don't know, I lose track.
Yes, that's why I love 15. Like in his first episode, he just opens all up. He's like, yes, all these tragedies. Adric, what's it? I'm like, yes, please acknowledge the trauma you've been through finally.
You know, that was another thing. Like when the bi-generation happened, I thought that their external appearance, where some clothes were on one and the other clothes were on the other, was also something that happened internally with them, where there were some things that because if you look at Tennant's 14th, he's carrying a lot of the weight, he's carrying a lot of the burden, and he's tired, and he's just like, you know, struggling. And then you had the 15th who is trying to encourage him, is more empathetic, I would say, and was basically saying it's okay to go rest, it's okay to, you know, retire and live the normal life. And I wondered if there were some aspects of the doctor that we would never see again in the 15th on, because some pieces were taken with one, some pieces were taken from the other. But I'm feeling that with this trailer, it's not going to be the case. Like I feel like we're going to get some really classic Who from Chudy, and I'm excited. Like I was like, oh my god.
I really am hoping for Dalek and Cybermen, like kind of with the 13th Doctor. Is like the whole season I'm like waiting for a classic villain, and then not till this special do you see a Dalek, but you saw the Dalek in a cool way that you've never seen before, where it actually took over a person instead of like the tank.
Oh yeah.
That.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like
I was really hoping for like because the Christmas special was Moffat's last episode writing for Doctor Who. I was hoping for
I
like some
love
Weeping
that.
Angels, because it's like, oh man, like Weeping Angels are Stephen Moffat's thing. I thought he would for sure some way push it in there. Nope, no love.
Yeah, I kind of, it's funny though. It's like I know that they're trying to do some new things. I love some of the new stuff that they did, you know, bringing characters on. But I do think some of those classic characters, no matter how much people think that they've watched a lot, they still need to come back. Like I was just watching, what was it? The Pandorica episode, where they're at Stonehenge, and like you had the Cybermen, the reptilian, you know, aliens. You had, or the original Earthers, I guess you could say, the reptilians. You had Cybermen, Daleks, the Slovene. You had all of these, like these characters like just standing around, like calling the Doctor the destroyer of the universe. And I'm like, even though there's been a whole lot of like different things being shown, like just having all those classic characters coming back together, we need that. I feel like they need to have a presence throughout every season of Doctor Who, just to kind of ground it again.
Like Shudy's healed Doctor interacting with a Dalek would be just so fascinating. Like, which direction are you going to go? Are you going to go back to like hatred, or are you going to try and like find common ground or understanding or some sort of version of that in those interactions?
Oh, you know, we haven't seen him angry yet.
Yeah.
Like, we know how the Doctor can get when he's angry. We've seen it.
I need it. I need to see the anger.
Oh, Ooh. It's like trying to see how far you could push, because it's like we know with the 11th, when it came down to it, when it came to saving Amy Pond and her daughter, that he brought together everyone. Like he called in all the favors. It's like you don't want to end up owing the Doctor because you were going to end up on that battle.
Oh my God's like the TARDIS appears. He's like, no, you can't need me. There's no way you need my.
he's like, no, you don't need. I can't. No, I'm good. Like it was.
And then the Suntaran, he's like, yes, I'm being called to battle. It's like everybody knows what this song is. Like the Doctor's calling in a favor. All right, I'm about to go. I gotta fight people. The only person happy is the Suntaran. He's like, I could die in the glory of battle. Says by to his friend, he's like, hey man, later. Hopefully I'll kill you one day.
The only characters that I was surprised that they didn't try to bring back was the Scarecrow aliens, the one that had the little Scarecrow army. Like he could have called them. They're just chilling, like stuck in their own little dimensions.
They are just chilling.
They I forget where it was, but there was a short depicting Jodie's Doctor and Jodie actually rescuing all of them and just kind of like, I don't want to say apologizing, but just kind of like rescuing all of them. And I forget what she did, but she took them out of those purgatories. I think it was a comic or something.
The Doctor Who lockdown YouTube channel during the pandemic. It is one of the specials they have. I love that channel so much. I've watched every video on it. There is the Jodie one where she frees the girl from the mirror, and like the girl mentions, like, wait, what? You aren't supposed to do this. There was a ginger doctor who said, I'll stay in here forever. And Jodie's like, I guess I'm changing the future then. And I'm like, ginger doctor reference. I like that. But there's also they have Rory go on and he records like a video on the only cell phone that far in the past. He's like, this is for my daughter. Just a quick explanation of everything. And gosh, I can't remember which like popular comic book writer wrote that, but it was like very cool. There's also like there's a 1 to 13 Doctor special where they have like all of the Big Finish actors and whoever they could get to record like all 13 of the Doctor, 14 with the War Doctor at the time, just saving the 4th Doctor from being trapped in his TARDIS. And that's also really cool. That Doctor Who lockdown channel is where to find that. I love that channel.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go do some homework then.
Yes, it's so much fun, and like I believe everything on there is canon because it's actually like written by like it's not like a fan channel or anything. It's actually like the BBC trying to give the fans cool things during the pandemic.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I didn't even know about this. See, this is why we do this. Like this never showed up on the Discord chat. I'm just gonna say it.
My bad.
Screw you guys. I'm learning this firsthand with everybody else. No, but like, yeah, okay. So we're done. Well, we'll talk to you guys later. See, it's like there's never any like I've been trying to every time I go to the used bookstore in my area. So Niko, if you ever go to Manassas, Virginia, the McKay's bookstore there, I kid you not, it's there. That's where I got all of the figural magazines of the different like characters. So if you're ever looking, like there's still stuff there. It's the early Doctor Who stuff because I only went for the newer Doctor Who magazines because I knew I wanted to go through that first.
Classic Who, I love classic Who stuff.
And it's literally like I'm telling you, it's like first through the 8th, I guess. But it's like all the old characters and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to that eventually. If someone buys it, I'll be okay. But I kid you not, there's a section in their comic books. Every so often, I will find a Doctor Who comic, and I've been trying to get them. Mind you, there's no order to them. But I figure it's Doctor Who. Why would I care? But yeah, like I do find a lot of that stuff every so often, and I kept having like these weird Peter Capaldi toys, which I refuse to touch. Not because I don't like Capaldi, it's just they were weird toys. But I do have one of the Danny Cyberbit.
Nice
little PVC toys or whatever.
This is my one Doctor Who magazine.
Of course.
Yes, but also fun 14 Doctor and Donna story inside. So I get it. I love the extended media. And this 60 moments in time is filled with so many fun Doctor Who facts. I love it so much.
That is
I
so.
just- I love absorbing Doctor Who. I have no idea. My sister got me this for my birthday. Shout out to my sister.
So it's funny. The only thing that I okay, so I have, you can't see right now because it's hidden my Lex Luthor's Funko Pop, but I've got a 3D printed TARDIS. I have a couple. I have one at work. Other than the magazines and the comic books and the sonic screwdriver, I need to pay Johnny for at some point. I have, my wife got me a lapel pin for Christmas, and it's the TARDIS and a Van Gogh painting. Like it's Starry Night with the TARDIS, and I was like, that's that, because I just watched that Van Gogh episode again, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's buried by other books, but I have a book that's similar to, there's a Star Wars book called The Women of Star Wars, and it's got like really good artwork and then their bios. I have something similar for Doctor Who where it's the companions, but it's just a bunch of artwork and their stories, and it's really cool stuff. I really like that stuff. I've read a couple comics. Like every bit of extended media is interesting, especially when it's canon.
Reading Doctor Who comics. There's the 15 has one comic run right now, and it is actually a canon story for him. So he has canonically battled with Cybermen already, which is funny that it happened in a comic first before in the show.
It'd be interesting if they actually reference it at some point down the road.
That's what I'm hoping, because it's a lot of cool stuff. Like even he wears this outfit, but with like the Fourth Doctor's long scarf. So I'm like, now I can do that cosplay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember I was reading it. I'm like, I don't know if if Shooty would look good in this scarf. And then like I turn the page, I'm like, wait, Shooty's wearing the scarf? He looks good in it. Of course. Why did I think he wouldn't?
Oh yeah. Man. Going back to the episode.
Yeah.
There's not much to say. It's kind of funny because like we could talk about these. I think that's what we need to do, because I've been trying to figure out the format of the show or whatever. I think we talk about the episode to start off, and then we go off into everything else, because that's where the fun is just kind of like going back and forth between the Doctor things, because there's a lot of themes that do kind of move on. Now I will say something. When they first appear in that bunker with all the display cases with all the different relics, we saw the Cyberman, we saw the slithering arm. Did you notice? And maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like an alien's egg in the background, like a xenomorph egg. Like I don't know.
I think that is a reference. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like that looks like a xenomorph egg. Like that looks like a face hugger can come out. So I was sitting there going, that I wish I would have taken a picture of it, but it's like if I was wrong, I didn't want to go that deep into the theory of it. But thank you for at least legitimizing it for a minute. But
looks like Reddit agrees with you.
Okay. Yes.
Nice.
So at one point, could you imagine if we had like an Aliens, Predator, Doctor Who crossover?
That would be cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Super cool. Oh god, put it in a comic.
Like the Doctor goes, we're not going to like 2457 because Weyland Yutani just ruins everything. Oh,
yes. Man. BBC, if you're listening, do it. I'll buy whatever media comes out myself.
Yeah. Wasn't there a joke? The android from the first Alien movie, wasn't there like a ploy for him to be a doctor at some point? Like people were like referencing like he could have been one of the doctors, like that actor, not necessarily, because he ends up being Bilbo Baggins later on, but it's like the only thing he should have done was he should have been a Doctor Who as well.
Yeah.
So
I think so. I think that there's always a lot of Doctor Who. This guy should be the Doctor. I listen to them all because I can see it.
Oh yeah. No, but it's wild. Like, and the people that act in the things, like I will see that D-bag of a millionaire, whatever he is, in other material. What was he in that everybody knew him from?
The Mummy.
The Mummy.
That's what I saw him in.
Yeah. Like you get those people that have like a hateable face, it took a while for me to like Christopher Eccleston because all I saw him from was villains in American media, like Malekith, Destro, and whatever his name was in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I knew him best from.
That was his most Doctor appearance, if you think about it. The way he's like done, finished. It's like just that matter of factness about him. And I'm like, yeah.
He does like it's such an interesting character quirk in Gone in 60 Seconds where he's like, I do woodwork on my spare time. I'm building a coffin.
It's such a Doctor thing too. or my favorite phrase in the Doctor Who series right now is it's like yeah, but he's got a North accent. There's a North in a lot of planets. I'm not gonna do a British accent again.
I think you did all right.
I kid you not. My kids, he still goes, Tardis, the doctor. I'm like, buddy, stop. That's kind of offensive. It's like the doctor. He's like, and he goes in the Tardis. I'm like, Jonathan, stop it. Seriously. But yeah. No, overall, I like this episode. This redeemed me. This episode redeemed me when it came to like being overdone with the Slitheen. I was kind of done with them. Like I didn't like those episodes as much. This was a good return to form. We're going to be going into the next. In fact, you know what? I didn't even look up. Normally, I have like the whole title card and stuff for. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I remember what this was. This is the next one's going to be the satellite.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. Let's see more.
And the guy, I don't know why I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he was in Shaun of the Dead and Star Trek.
He's gonna be an awesome con.
Oh, why you gotta tell me that?
I that's why I was like, oh, I wanted to say that. Dang, I want to meet him just to go like, loved your Doctor Who.
Yeah, so
nothing else you've been in, just Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like I almost kind of want to go up to Andrew Garfield at some point. I mean, everybody be like wearing a Spider-Man shirt and be like, I loved you in Doctor Who.
Loved you in what is that? Season 3, episodes 4 and 5 of Doctor Who. Those are really good.
You mean where I was supposed to play an American and I still called an elevator a lift? Yeah, that one.
That's right. Like they struggled sometimes with acting American.
Yeah.
Except for the one guy who's like, I'll be the one speaking to the aliens. Like, yeah, that would definitely be an American thing to do. Like, I'm going to self-appoint myself as the spokesperson for the world. That checks. Speaking of which, next episode is episode 7. Was produced in May 7th of 2005. It is called The Long Game.
Nice.
The Long Game, which is where we get rid of my most hated companion.
It's probably because of the long things that come out of their forehead now.
Oh no, it doesn't really come out of their forehead. It just opens up their brain. I just love the fact. I just love the fact that the mom at the end of the episode is gonna like snap and the thing opens up and she's gonna freak out. It's like, yeah, that's funny.
Don't tell anybody. They'll torture you.
So with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. We've already gone for an hour talking about anything and everything other than the Dalek episode, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, so if you have not already seen it, go check out the new season of Doctor Who's trailer. You will be as excited as we are, especially if you like Doctor Who. With that said, thank you, Will, for being with us for a few minutes. I don't know what happened, but we wish you the best. And then David, go ahead, and then Niko, and then we'll wrap up.
I am Xanatos1138 on all socials, mostly TikTok, trying to motivate myself to do Twitch again and everything else. And I'm repping both of my favorite things today with the TARDIS and the Jawas, Star Wars and Doctor Who. But yep, that's me.
Niko Skywalker on TikTok, Skywalking Niko on Instagram. I might like Doctor Who a little bit, just a little.
Yeah.
And I'm Tony. You can find me as Mr. Marvelite everywhere. But most importantly, find us on It's FanBox. It's fanbox.com or It's FanBox on social media. Be sure to check out this podcast on audio form anywhere you get your podcasts. We're going to go ahead and say goodbye.